Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with everyone. I'm going to kind of walk through what really is Polygon, or put another way, what the heck is Polygon? Polygon has like a very long history. We've been around for a while by Web3 standards, and people really generally think of Polygon as one thing. And that one thing really is Polygon proof of stake. It thinks of us as really being one network. And this makes a lot of sense, right? If you look at the kind of 2021, 2022 days, Polygon POS was the leading network that gained a lot of traction throughout the world. And it is a very easy and cheap blockchain to use. And so for that reason, everyone has kind of continued to stick with the idea that anything Polygon related is Polygon POS. But there's actually a lot more to Polygon as it's grown than just the Polygon proof of stake network. And I kind of want to walk you through what that looks like. And a key part of this is to just really think of Polygon as a global network of aggregated blockchains. So maybe let me kind of break down what do I mean when I say, an aggregated blockchain. And really, this is like a little technical, very specific, but it's very important, and I'll explain why it is important to be specific. But an aggregated blockchain, as we view it, is a horizontally scalable multi-chain network that enables access to shared liquidity and state across sovereign connected chains. So why is it that this definition is so important? And it's because it really differentiates us in terms of the concept of aggregated blockchains from what you've typically kind of really thought of, right? On the one hand, we've often kind of considered monolithic blockchains. And on the other hand, we've considered modular blockchains. And we know that they both have good and bad to them, right? So if we're considering a monolithic blockchain, you've got a blockchain that unifies liquidity, brings it all together, all the users are in one spot, generally easier to use, but it has certain constraints, right? And those constraints are things like they get bottlenecked, harder to customize things, costs will go up over time. And even the monolithic blockchains that we see today that are fast and cheap, with enough usage, they are no longer always going to be fast and cheap. And sometimes you'll get on there and you'll try to use your favorite application and you won't be able to get transactions through at the cost that you want. So for that reason, the concept of modular blockchains came about. And the idea here is that because one monolithic blockchain can't really handle all of the transactions throughout the world, we need to really have multiple blockchains, multiple networks. And you see this most in the Ethereum world. And that is something that Polygon is part of, right? And we see a lot of different networks, L2s, being built on top of Ethereum in a very modular way. You can take different pieces of blockchains and you can put them together and actually have kind of the customized version of a blockchain that you want. And that allows you to kind of control the environment that you have and have one blockchain for a specific purpose or a specific set of purposes. And when you need another blockchain because you ultimately have too much activity on one, you can spin another one up. The problem, right, that we have with the modular blockchains is that you get to a point where you start thinking, well, okay, great, I just spun up a new blockchain, but now what I'm missing is unified liquidity, a unified set of users. You're kind of left always trying to bring kind of users and liquidity to a blockchain. And aggregated blockchains fix this. They allow for the growth of different networks to come up, to grow so that when there's a need for more block space, a need for more space on a blockchain, then you can spin up a new chain. But on top of that, what it does is it actually brings these chains together. It really connects them so that now when you want to transact from chain A to chain B, you can do that in a very seamless way that really feels like a monolithic chain, but ultimately gets the benefits of the modular blockchains. And so that's really where Polygon is focused. And you can see this with kind of the two key products that you should really think of when you think of Polygon. One of them is the ag layer, and the other one is Polygon CDK. And we're going to dig into both of those one at a time. But ultimately, the key here is that Polygon CDK is what gives you the ability to scale as you need. And the ag layer is what allows us to unify liquidity and users together. Maybe let's jump into really what is Polygon CDK, since that's the core part of what we are. So Polygon CDK stands for Polygon Chain Development Kit, and it basically allows anyone to build their own ZK-powered layer 2 that ends up being custom fit to their needs. And this ends up being kind of very important for some of the reasons that I described earlier, because ultimately what we're hearing from users is, hey, I want the best experience possible. And then what we're hearing from developers is, I want to give that user experience. And what I need is, I need to be able to do it in a way that provides, that is very easy and provides that right experience. So an example, right, is a game developer. A game developer is not specialized in blockchain networks. They don't really understand blockchain networks. But ultimately what they know is that there's a benefit to their users if they can build games that use some of the benefits of blockchain networks and crypto. And so they want to build a game on a network. They really don't want to have to worry about that underlying network. And that's really what being able to spin up something easy like the Chain Development Kit allows them to do, is just focus on the thing that they do well, which is build their game or the application that they want, have the block space that they need, the environment that they need for the users, have the low costs for their users, but never actually have to worry about the development itself. And so we see some uses of the Chain Development Kit right now. The core of it is really Polygon ZKVM. We've started seeing A-Star ZKVM, X layer by OKX. And eventually, the way that we think of the Polygon CDK is it's really like the core piece that includes everything that we do. So that includes Polygon POS and Polygon MIDEM. So what does that mean? Eventually, Polygon CDK, somebody will be able to really spin up the exact same network as what Polygon POS is today. And Polygon MIDEM is a new network that we're working on development with that has some very unique features that are not in the market today. And that too will be part of Polygon CDK. And so ultimately, Polygon CDK will allow you to spin up all of these different chains. And what we are going to do is we're going to run some of these chains that give people examples of what this looks like. And we're going to grow them so that people can see how they scale, how they work, how they keep costs low, how they provide unique environments. And this is kind of the examples with Polygon ZKVM, Polygon POS, and eventually Polygon MIDEM. And so ultimately with Polygon CDK, the key thing here is that you always get unlimited scalability. And this is very important because we already know that we have a secure network in Ethereum. We don't need to work on creating a new decentralized secure network. What we need to do is we need to connect layers on top of Ethereum in a very secure way. And so when you think of Polygon CDK, you could think of it as really the set of chains that allow for scaling on top of Ethereum. But importantly, they also allow people to scale in a very secure way. And the core of that is kind of ZK technology. So a few years ago, Polygon Labs acquired a couple ZK teams and brought them together, which allowed us to really become what I think many would consider a ZK powerhouse. And underlying the CDK technology is all of the ZK tech that we have. And at the core of that is provers. And these provers are really what allows the chains, all of these CDK chains that could are spun up, to cost effectively be secured by Ethereum. And some of the benefits of using this ZK tech includes things like instant withdrawals and instant deposits in a way that you don't necessarily see with other technologies such as optimistic rollups. But what we've basically solved is really only the problem of scalability with Polygon CDK. Now, underlying it, as I said, we still have decentralization and security from Ethereum. But what we've lost is that unified liquidity that you would get on Ethereum. So now that we've brought that scalability back, what we need to talk about is really how you end up unifying that liquidity again. And that's really where the ag layer comes in. And I'll give a little plug for the fact that our co-founder Sandeep's going to be talking about the AG layer in much greater depth tomorrow, I believe. And that is something that I think everyone should attend, because I think the AG layer is something that you can start seeing is getting a lot of excitement out in the community because of the issue that it solves. So what is the AG layer? Ultimately, the AG layer is a neutral, decentralized service that will verify that chain states are consistent. They'll aggregate proofs of consistent chain states and then settle them to Ethereum. So what does this mean in plainer language? Effectively, what it means is that the AG layer is going to take all of the different chains that exist with Polygon CDK. Now, initially, the way we were thinking about it was that it would only be chains that were using Polygon CDK. And as we've worked on the development of AG layer, what we realized is it doesn't actually only need to be something that is in the Polygon ecosystem. And the AG layer doesn't need to be a Polygon technology. It can actually really be a neutral technology that is available to unite Web3 as a whole. So this means that it can bring together chains that are in the Ethereum ecosystem, even chains that are outside of the Ethereum ecosystem, but bring them all so that they can share that liquidity. And that's really starting right now with these Polygon CDK chains and Polygon POS, Polygon ZKVM. Right now, we have an initial kind of early component of the AG layer live, which is really just a unified bridge. And that unified bridge right now has Polygon ZKVM on it, A-Star ZKVM on it, and a couple others as well. And it's going to have several more joining soon. The way that you can really picture what the AG layer looks like is kind of here. What you have is on Ethereum, you have a unified bridge contract. Now, this bridge contract is actually very, very important. And the reason for this is because if you think of the current environment where you're operating cross-chain, what you end up having is a scenario where when you bridge an asset from one chain to another chain, you no longer have that native asset on that later chain. Instead, what you have is some wrapped version of that later asset, which means that there's certain additional trust assumptions that you have to make relating to that wrapped asset rather than having the native version. By having this unified bridge contract on Ethereum and having everyone join it, what it allows is that as people use the AG layer, as it develops further, what everyone's going to be doing is when they want to send ETH from Polygon ZKVM to A-Star ZKVM, then they can send that ETH without even wrapping it. It's a native ETH that they will be sending at all times. This allows for much deeper liquidity that is going to exist between on these given chains, because now you don't need to have new liquidity built up with these non-native assets. And so that unlocks a lot of kind of deeper and more friendly UX for all of the chains that connect to it. And so that's one of the reasons why we're very excited. But on top of that, what you can see here is this aggregation layer. And essentially, this is the layer that is going to allow for interoperability between these chains. Without getting too kind of detailed into it, ultimately for us, all we care about is that all of the chains that connect into the AG layer end up being able to transact in probably 3 seconds, maybe even 1 second eventually, so that they can get that unified experience through the AG layer that they would get in one monolithic chain. The last thing that I want to talk about as I'm coming up to the end of my time is how it is that we're going to enable this when it comes to keeping chains secure in general. And what you're going to see is that there's a bunch of chains that I'm showing here, Immutable, Manta as example, that ultimately need to be secured in a way that they do not have at this time. Right, so there's chains that are built on other technology that don't necessarily have proofs right now, and they need to have proofs. And one of the things that we developed is something referred to as the Type 1 prover. This is a prover that is completely EVM equivalent and can plug into any chain that has that is EVM compatible very easily. And what this does means that we can actually plug this prover in. They can get the added security of ZK technology and plug into the AG layer in a very seamless way, which allows for the AG layer and all of that unified kind of liquidity and users to grow much more quickly. And so ultimately, that's the vision for Polygon, is one that allows for chains to grow through Polygon CDK and to be brought together through the AG layer. And that is all I have for you. Thank you very much. And again, appreciate the opportunity to be in front of all of you.